The most painful moment in The Wind Rises happens during what should be the happiest moment of Jiro's life. After years of sketches, failed prototypes, calculations, pressure, and dreams, the thing he imagined finally lifts off the ground. Everyone around him is watching the aircraft rise into the sky, and for a second, it feels like the movie has arrived at triumph. Then Jiro feels the wind change. Somewhere else, Naoko is leaving. She's too sick to stay with him, too aware of what is coming, maybe too loving to let the final image of her marriage become a long, slow decline. So while Jiro's dream rises into the air, the person who made his life feel human quietly disappears from it. And Jiro is left standing between the thing he built and the life he could never hold on to. I think that's why The Wind Rises is so hard to explain to someone who has not seen it. On the surface, it can sound like a quiet historical drama about a man who designs airplanes. But when you actually sit with it, it feels much heavier than that. It's a movie full of sunlight, paper planes, drafting tables, soft glances, and impossible machines. It's gentle for long stretches. Sometimes it's almost peaceful, and somehow, by the end, it leaves you with grief. So the question becomes, why? Why does a movie about dreams, love, and creation feel so haunted? The Wind Rises begins with a boy looking at the sky. Before Jiro understands war, industry, government contracts, or the machinery of history, he understands the feeling of wanting to rise. He looks at planes with this pure fascination. The curve of the wing, the shape of the body, the way something heavy can suddenly seem weightless. He wants to fly, but his eyesight keeps him from becoming a pilot. So the dream shifts. If he cannot be the person in the air, he can be the person who makes the air possible. That's important because Jiro's dream starts as wonder. It starts as a child trying to reach something above him. He is drawn to planes as objects of imagination before he understands the uses people will assign to them. To Jiro, an airplane is a kind of moving artwork. A machine, yes, but also a line drawn against the sky. And that's where the dream sequences come in. Whenever Jiro dreams, the film lets us see what his work feels like from the inside. In real life, Jiro is restrained. He speaks carefully. He watches more than he says. He has the personality of someone who has learned to put emotion into focus instead of display. But in his dreams, everything opens. He walks across impossible wings. He sees aircraft floating like palaces. He meets Caproni, the Italian designer who becomes something more than a mentor. Caproni feels like the voice of the dream itself. He is charming, theatrical, and full of confidence. He tells Jiro that planes are beautiful dreams. He speaks about engineering like it belongs beside painting, music, architecture, and poetry. And for Jiro, that's intoxicating. Caproni gives him permission to see his work as art. But even in these dreams, there is a warning underneath the wonder. Caproni knows planes do not stay inside the imagination. Once they are built, they enter the world. And the world has armies. It has factories. It has governments. It has people who see a beautiful machine and immediately ask how useful it can be. That's the first tension the movie plants in Jiro's life. A plane can begin as a dream and still become a weapon. Jiro does not fully know how to live with that. I'm not sure anyone in the movie really does. And one of the most interesting things Miyazaki does is that he doesn't introduce Jiro as an obviously compromised person. He introduces him as someone admirable, which is why the earthquake scene matters more than it first seems. The Great Kanto earthquake hits while Jiro is traveling, and the movie turns suddenly terrifying. The ground breaks apart, smoke rises, people scream, the trains twist, the world becomes unstable in every direction. And Jiro acts. He helps Naoko's maid when she is injured. He carries her, he stays calm in a moment where many people would panic. He gets them to safety, then leaves without asking for gratitude or attention. That scene tells us who Jiro is before the movie asks us to wrestle with what he builds. He's kind. He is brave in an ordinary, physical way. He sees the person directly in front of him and responds. There's something almost ideal about him in that moment. He has discipline, steadiness, and a quiet sense of duty, and that makes the rest of the film more uncomfortable. If Jiro was careless, the movie would be easier. If he were cold, we would know where to place him. But Jiro can be genuinely good in one part of his life, and still fail to fully confront another. That feels much closer to real life. His problem is not a lack of feeling, it's absorption. Jiro can see details with astonishing clarity. He notices small shifts in design. He studies rivets, curves, weight, drag, and balance. He understands how one tiny adjustment can change an entire plane. But the total shape of what he is helping build is harder for him to look at. He knows the planes are for the military. He knows Japan is moving toward war. He's not naive in the sense of being clueless, but his mind keeps returning to the craft, the drawing, the next test, the next failure, the version of the plane that might finally match the one in his head. And this is where Jiro becomes harder to defend. The movie understands the beauty of devotion. It also understands how devotion can narrow a person. Jiro is not building in a vacuum. He works inside a company. The company works with the military. The military works inside a country becoming more aggressive, more secretive, and more dangerous. The pressure around him is everywhere, but it rarely appears as one dramatic speech. It appears as deadlines, meetings, expectations, men in uniforms, visits to Germany, police attention, budgets, scarcity, the constant feeling that Japan needs to catch up, modernize, compete, and prepare. The war in this movie is disturbing partly because of how ordinary it feels. It's not always announced with explosions. It arrives through paperwork, through professional ambition, through the language of national progress, through the quiet assumption that everyone talented should contribute to the same machine. That's what makes Jiro's position so complicated. He's a craftsman inside a system that rewards beauty when beauty becomes useful. The company does not need his dream because it is beautiful. It needs his dream because a beautiful plane can fly faster, travel farther, turn sharper, and carry the desires of the state into the sky. Jiro may love the plane as art. The institution loves it as power. And the film keeps letting those two meanings occupy the same machine. The trip to Germany sharpens this. Jiro sees a country with advanced aircraft technology, and the whole sequence has this strange mixture of awe and dread. There's a brilliance there. There is engineering genius. There's also something deeply wrong moving under the surface. Castorp is one of the few characters who seems willing to say what other people avoid saying. He notices the direction things are going. He sees Japan and Germany drifting toward disaster. He brings political reality into a movie where Jiro often escapes back into craft. Around Castorp, the world feels less blurry. The danger becomes speakable. And yet Jiro keeps working. That's one of the movie's most painful truths. Sometimes people do see enough to know something is wrong. Then they return to their desks anyway. Maybe they feel powerless. Maybe they believe their part is small. Maybe they tell themselves that the work itself is separate from what others will do with it. Maybe they simply love the work too much to stop. The Wind Rises does not give us an easy answer there. It just keeps watching Jiro draw. And then Naoko returns. The film changes when she comes back into his life. It becomes softer, but also more fragile. Their scenes together have a different rhythm from the engineering scenes. When Jiro is working, time feels measured by progress. When he's with Naoko, time feels measured by loss. She's painting when he finds her again, and I think that detail matters. Naoko is also an artist, just in a quieter way. She looks at the world and tries to hold it still. The hillside, the light, the shape of a moment before it changes. Jiro draws planes that are meant to reach the future. Naoko paints the present before it slips away. That parallel is one of the most beautiful things in the film. Jiro's art moves forward. Naoko's art asks the moment to stay. And her illness makes every moment feel temporary. Naoko has tuberculosis, and the movie treats that with a softness that can almost hide how frightening it is. She's young. She's in love. She has taste, humor, pride, and warmth. She wants a life with Jiro, but her body keeps reminding her that her future is shrinking. Even so, she is never only an illness. Naoko makes choices. She chooses to love Jiro. She chooses to seek treatment. She chooses to leave the sanatorium and return to him. She chooses marriage, and later, she chooses to leave him before the illness takes everything. Those choices are heartbreaking, but they give her dignity. She cannot control the amount of time she has. She can shape what that time means. That's why the romance feels so mature. It's not built around rescue. Jiro cannot save her. Naoko cannot pull him out of history. Their love does not solve the world around them. It gives them a small, honest place inside it. And Jiro knows what he's choosing. He knows she's sick. He knows marriage to her will likely bring grief. He knows this happiness comes with an ending already inside it. And he still chooses her. That part of Jiro is deeply moving. If we only talk about the planes, we lose the tenderness that makes him human. He does love Naoko. He loves her with patience, with gentleness, and with a willingness to stay near pain. But the work is still there. The image that captures their marriage best is Jiro holding Naoko's hand while he works. And somehow it says almost everything. His love and his craft are physically connected. He's beside her. He's giving her presents. At the same time, the pencil keeps moving. Part of him is with Naoko. Part of him is in the sky. The movie doesn't frame this as simple neglect. It feels more human than that. Jiro is trying to hold both parts of his life at once. And maybe that's exactly what makes it sad. He's not choosing between love and work in one clean, dramatic moment. He's living inside the impossible overlap. Naoko's hand in one hand, the future of the plane in the other, and time running out for both of them. I think Naoko understands Jiro more than he understands himself. She knows the dream will keep calling him. She knows he will keep working. She also knows that her illness could become the thing that consumes his memory of her. So when she leaves, it feels like an act of love and an act of control. She cannot decide whether she dies. She can decide how she says goodbye. She doesn't want Jiro's final image of her to be only sickness. She wants to leave while some part of her still belongs to life. She wants to be remembered as the woman who painted, smiled, loved him, and chose him. That makes her departure devastating in a different way. There's no big farewell scene, no final conversation where every feeling gets spoken aloud. Miyazaki lets it happen with a quietness that almost makes it worse. Naoko leaves, and the film trusts the wind to carry what words cannot. The wind has been there from the beginning. It moves the hat that first connects them. It lifts the paper plane. It moves through the mountains. It fills Jiro's dreams. It shakes the world during disaster and carries aircraft into the sky. In this movie, the wind is invisible, but it decides everything. It brings people together. It carries them away. And at the test flight, it does both at once. That's why the climax hurts so much. Jiro is standing in the field. The aircraft is ready. The spectators are there. The machine that once existed only in drawings now has weight, sound, and motion. It gathers speed. It rises. Everyone around him sees success, but Jiro feels the loss inside the triumph. Somewhere beyond the field, beyond the applause, beyond the beautiful line of the plane in the sky, Naoko is leaving him. The film cuts the emotional center away from the machine and places it inside Jiro's face. This should be his moment. It is also the moment he loses her. And the cruelty is that neither truth cancels the other. The plane is magnificent. His work matters. The achievement is real. Naoko's absence is also real. That's the emotional trap of The Wind Rises. Life does not always separate triumph from grief. Sometimes the thing you spent your life chasing arrives at the exact moment another part of you breaks. Jiro finally reaches the sky, and he has never seemed more alone. But the movie still has one more place to take him. The final dream is where the film stops protecting Jiro. For most of the movie, the dream world is filled with possibility. Even when there are warnings, it still feels open and romantic. Caproni's there, the plains are wondrous, and the sky is bright. By the end, the dream has changed. Jiro stands in the aftermath. The plains are gone. Japan has lost. The machines he imagined so carefully have become tied to wreckage, defeat, and death. The beautiful dream is passed through the world and returned carrying everything the world did to it. This ending does not feel like absolution to me. It feels like reckoning. Caproni speaks to him. Naoko appears to him. There is tenderness there, but it's also a hard tenderness. Jiro does not get to step outside what happened. He doesn't get to turn the plane back into a childhood image. He has to see the full shape now. The dream was beautiful. The cost was real. And Naoko tells him to live. That line is so gentle that it can sound comforting at first. But I think it's one of the heaviest lines in the movie. Living means carrying the whole thing. It means carrying Naoko, carrying the planes, carrying the years of work, carrying the knowledge of what those planes became, carrying the fact that his most beautiful dream ended in wreckage, while his most beautiful love ended in absence. She's not telling him everything is okay. She's telling him to continue anyway. And that may be where Miyazaki's presence feels strongest. The Wind Rises is inspired by Jiro Horikoshi, the engineer associated with the Zero. But Miyazaki also pulls from Tatsuo Hori's story of illness and love. The result is a film that feels less like a normal biopic and more like a personal medication. It's about a historical figure, but it also feels like Miyazaki looking at the things that shaped his own imagination. Flight has always mattered in his films. His skies are never empty. They're full of witches, dragons, gliders, airships, birds, floating cities, and impossible machines. He understands the emotional charge of leaving the ground. In his movies, flight can feel like freedom, childhood, terror, grace, and escape all at once. But here, flight becomes harder to love. The aircraft is still beautiful. Miyazaki animates it with care. He understands why Jiro would give his life to that shape. He lets us feel the seduction of the machine. Then he reminds us where the machine is going. That's what makes this film feel so personal. Miyazaki's own life gives the subject a strange echo. His family history connects him to wartime aircraft production. His mother's tuberculosis echoes through Naoko's illness. His pacifism sits right beside his lifelong fascination with machines that fly. I would be careful about saying the movie is simply about Miyazaki himself. That doesn't feel right, but it does feel like he's examining one of his own contradictions with unusual honesty. How do you love flight when flight has been used for war? How do you make beautiful things when the world can use beauty for purposes you hate? How do you keep creating when creation never stays fully yours? Those questions feel larger than Jiro. They feel like questions any artist, engineer, inventor, or dreamer might eventually face in some form. The work leaves your hands. Other people assign meaning to it. Other institutions find uses for it. You can begin with wonder and still end up connected to harm. That's the discomfort The Wind Rises refuses to smooth over. It does not ask us to solve Jiro. It asks us to sit with him. And by the end, I don't think The Wind Rises leaves us with a message as simple as, dreams are dangerous, or beauty is worth the cost. But it also understands that beauty has limits. That's why The Wind Rises stays with me. It's a movie about a man who made something beautiful, loved someone fragile, and survived long enough to understand that both had a cost.